At the far end of a narrow street in the city of Brookfield stood a derelict house. Its walls were cracked, the paint peeling like old scabs. The front door leaned slightly to one side, as if exhausted from holding the weight of decades. Every morning, a figure appeared there. An old woman with a crooked back and white hair tied loosely in a faded scarf. Her hands trembled, and her clothes smelled of dust and rain. Her eyes, however, were sharp, piercing, and unnervingly alive. Her name was Evelyn Carter. Children called her a witch and hurled stones at her. Women crossed the street to avoid her. Men laughed openly. Why hasn't death claimed her yet, they would ask. Evelyn never answered. She only watched. And remembered. 40 years ago, Evelyn was not this frail, broken woman. She was beautiful, educated, and born into a respected family. She married Richard Carter, a wealthy businessman whose influence spread across Brookfield. Their wedding was grand, the kind that people would talk about for years. They had 3 children, Emily Carter, their daughter, innocent and sweet. Daniel Carter, their eldest son, ambitious and proud. Michael Carter, the younger son, quick to anger. People often said, Evelyn is blessed. She married a king. But behind closed doors, kings can be monsters. Richard Carter ruled his household with an iron fist. He believed a woman's life was only to serve, obey, and endure his whims. His words were sharp knives, his fists sharper. Every day, Evelyn endured humiliation and fear, silently, so that her children could live without the horror of witnessing it. Emily, their 16-year-old daughter, often stayed in her room, trembling at her father's angry footsteps. But no matter how much Evelyn tried to shield her, the darkness of that house crept into everything. One fateful night, Richard came home drunk and violent. The house was silent except for Emily, who was studying at her desk. The soft light of the lamp cast shadows across her frightened face. Evelyn sensed danger. She moved to block him. But he shoved her aside like she was nothing. Emily screamed. Evelyn tried to protect her, but it was too late. The night became a blur of screams, rage, and cruelty. By morning, Emily was gone, lifeless, her small body a victim of a world that had failed her. The police investigated, but money and influence drowned the truth. Rashid walked free. Evelyn's sons sided with their father. "You ruined our family's name," they said coldly. Her home, her children, her dignity all taken. Evelyn was left with nothing but grief and rage. She vowed silently that night, "I will not die. I will wait. And when the time comes, I will make them pay." Evelyn lived on the streets, enduring mockery, insults, and humiliation. But she observed. She memorized faces, habits, patterns. She watched as Richard Carter rose higher, richer, and more arrogant. She noted every corrupt judge, every bribed officer, every betrayal. Revenge, she realized, is a patient art. Years later, Evelyn began to reappear in the lives of her enemies not as the woman they once knew, but as a shadow they could not recognize. She started working as a cleaner in high-end offices. Nobody remembered the frail beggar woman from decades ago. Through eavesdropping and careful observation, she collected secrets, Richard Carter's illicit business deals, Daniel and Michael's corruption, vulnerabilities in their empire. Evelyn's weapon was information, and slowly, she began planting seeds of doubt. Richard's empire began to crumble. Business partners withdrew. Sons betrayed each other. Old allies turned against them. All while Evelyn watched silently, never revealing herself. She knew timing was everything. One day, Richard Carter, now older and weaker, saw Evelyn standing outside the courthouse. He froze. Evelyn! She looked at him calmly, the same piercing eyes that had haunted his memories. "I told you I would wait," she said softly. That evening, Richard suffered a stroke. He became powerless, silent, a prisoner of his own arrogance. Daniel and Michael lost everything they had accumulated: wealth, reputation, and influence. They begged their mother for forgiveness. Evelyn said nothing. "You chose greed over loyalty. Now face the consequences of your choices," she told them, walking away into the night. Years later, Evelyn Carter disappeared from the city. Some say she died quietly in a small town. Others claim she left for another country. The derelict house at the end of Brookfield Street remained empty, silent. But the people who had mocked her, insulted her, and ignored her presence never forgot her lesson: never underestimate a silent woman, especially one who has known loss and betrayal.